Hello everyone, welcome to the Corner Library here in Central Victoria, Australia. This is our second video recommending books on this channel. Of course, as most of you will know, we have actually moved over from Australian Book Travels, which is now dedicated solely for travel and relaxation videos. And this channel is dedicated to all things books. Now, I must tell you, I'm actually sitting on the very edge of this chair because I might just try and move the camera over. Rooney, my Irish setter, has decided to sit right behind me and he won't move. So I'm perched right on the edge of this chair. So I'm sure he will probably move partway through the video. Okay, again, for those of you who don't know, I do not edit these videos, so you are going to have the whole video, whether I make mistakes or whether dogs move the camera, whatever happens, it happens. But it makes for an interesting chat, I think. I'm wearing a jumper this morning. It is Sunday morning for me to upload this for you for tomorrow, which is Monday. It is a cooler day today, much appreciated. We haven't had rain. Again, there has been no rain, but the cooler weather does help us. If we're watering the garden, at least then the garden has a chance to soak the water up. Otherwise, in the heat, it just evaporates very quickly. So we are happy that it's cooler, but we do need more rain. I hope you've had a wonderful week. I hope you've been reading a lot during the week, or as much as you can or want to. I've been doing an awful lot of reading. I say awful, but it's not awful, is it? It's wonderful. But I have been doing a lot of reading. So I thought we'd perhaps get into it. There were a few things I wanted to say to you, actually. Oh, yes. Because of the dry weather, we here, Mark and I have been trying to organise or restructure our garden. We did have a lot of English cottage garden here on the property, not wholly and solely, but we have had, and we have enjoyed all of those beautiful English foxgloves and delphiniums and so forth. And we really do love bringing them into the house. But because of the much drier weather, we've realised that it's just not sustainable to do that. We really need to change our way of thinking in the garden. So we've decided to have absolutely no English garden at all in terms of pretty little flowers and things. We do on the property, we have exotic trees or European trees. They seem to survive here much better even than the natives. So we've been thinking, and I came up quite some time ago to purchase robinias. If you don't know what robinias are, I'll try and put a photo on the screen somewhere so that you know what they look like. They are commonly known here in Australia as mop tops, and they're quite a fast growing tree. They are really drought tolerant, and they do provide eventually quite a bit of shade. So in our back garden, I've decided to take out the little garden beds along the footpaths. We have a patière out the back, so we have a garden that is split into quarters, and they're obviously two paths that run across each other. And so down the sides of those we've had little European English garden really on either side of the path, and we've decided to take those out and put in these robinias so that we have shade tree. Well, Mark sourced the trees from a nursery in Echuca, which is around about an hour and just over an hour's drive north of here. And we were going to take the opportunity to drive up, pick up the plants, take the dogs for a walk, and perhaps even film for Australian Book Travels. We would film for as a travel or relaxation video. On top of that, I was also going to see some bookshops up there. By the time we got up there, I decided not to film. I didn't want to do any filming. I just wanted to take the opportunity to really enjoy the day and enjoy it with Mark and the dogs. So that was really good. We went and had a look at some bookshops and I bought some books, and that was really lovely. It was a lovely day. We went and we had a lovely coffee and a lovely muffin at one of the cafes. Then we decided to pick up these robinias or mop tops. And Mark had ordered 8 of them on the understanding that they were only around about 1 metre high. When we went to pick them up, we had the 2 boys in the car, and we just have a small, well, what is now considered, we think it's a big car, but what is now considered a small vehicle. It's just a Honda SUV. And so it has a back boot open, like a station wagon, and then the back seat. So Rooney always sits in the boot of the station wagon bit of the car, and Arthur is always on the back seat. When we went to pick the trees up, they were 2 metres long with a really big head of foliage on them. So we could only pick up 4. We intend to go back. The nursery are happy to hold on to them, so we're going to pick up 4 next week. So yesterday we could only pick up these 4. They were so big, so long, they took up the length of the inside of the car. The heads of them were sitting between Mark and myself. I couldn't see Mark at all, apart from his hands on the steering wheel. Poor Rooney here was in the back of the car, squashed up against all the pots that they were in. And Arthur had to sit in the footwell in the front with me. So it was really, we were laughing. In fact, I took a photo. I may try and put the photo up here, because I took a photo of what I could see from my seat. Don't worry, it was safe. Mark could see all the traffic and all of that, but it was funny because it was just that I couldn't see him, because we'd made sure that the greenery had come between the 2 of us, between the 2 front seats. It was really funny. So I'll try and put a photo of that if I can get it up on the screen. I have to transfer it from my phone. So that was funny. But yes, I didn't get any filming done yesterday. We just had a lovely time going to the nursery and picking up these trees and taking the dogs for a lovely walk and book shopping, which is always a favourite thing. Okay, let's get into these books. Now, some of these, the first few are from publishers who have sent them to me to read and recommend as I see fit. So I'll let you know which ones they are as we go along. Okay. Goggles on, everyone. Okay, the first one is from Fremantle Publishing in Fremantle in Western Australia. And any of you who were watching Australian Book Travels previously, you will know that I really do like Fremantle Press and their books, their presentation, their customer service, and their authors, and their stories are really good. They tend to concentrate and really promote those authors in Western Australia with Western Australian stories. Not always, not completely, not wholly and solely, but predominantly they really promote their authors in Western Australia, which is wonderful, I think. Anyway, this first one, ordinarily, it is not my style of novel. It is not something that I would pick up and read. But I have to say, I'm glad Fremantle Press sent it to me. It's a really thought-provoking novel. Let me explain. This is Geraldine by Andrea Thompson. This is this year's release. I think it was released maybe a month or so ago. Actually, I have the little press release here, and I think it doesn't really matter when it was released, but March 2025. So yeah, I received it this week and I read it. I've read a few of these over the last few days. This was I did a little bit of research on Andrea, and I read one of her interviews that she gave in relation to Geraldine. This started off meaning to be a memoir for Andrea, or of Andrea's, and it turned into a novel. It deals with gender diversity, and obviously our protagonist, who is Gerald, who is taken home, is born as and is taken home by his parents as Gerald, who then becomes Geraldine. And just everything that Geraldine faces throughout her life. Now, it is begun... Andrea is actually English. She was born in England, came out and lived in Western Australia when she was quite young, actually, and has lived in Western Australia. This story is based in Western Australia. It is extremely thought-provoking. I enjoyed it. It made me think, and not just about gender diversity. It makes you think about all sorts of things that perhaps challenge us in all sorts of ways. I really enjoyed this. It's really interesting and thought-provoking. I recommend it. Now, as I say, it's this year. Now, how many? I think this is her first novel, by the way. This is Andrea's first novel. It is 342 pages and is, it's worth reading. I recommend it. I don't want to say much more than that. Essentially, that is what the story is about, as I've just explained to you. A very adventurous person, by the way, both Andrea and her protagonist, Geraldine. Really interesting and compelling. I recommend it. I don't want to say much more than that. I think it's up to you to discover what this story means to you. As I say, it made me think not just about gender diversity, but about other things in life that challenge us, no matter who we are, and how we view other people and how we judge them. It's really interesting. I really enjoyed it. Apart from just the story, I enjoyed what I feel is contained behind it. I think it's a really good novel, and I recommend it. So that's Geraldine. The next one is also Fremantle Press. This is also this year's release. I think also it was March. Let me just have a look. I do have... Oh, no, this is May. Now, why did I think this has been out already? That's really strange. Okay, so this is released in May. So we are now in April. I will remind you again before it's released. It doesn't give us an exact date. It just says May in 2025. Fremantle Press, as I say, and the story is 269 pages. Now, this is Boontown Snap by J. Martin, Australian who also lives in Western Australia. We come across Georgie, who now, strange enough, J. Martin, as an author, has lived in a lot of places. The UK, Vietnam, I think Poland. I think this is her second or third novel. I think she's lived in Canada as well, actually. This begins in Alberta, Canada. She's an Australian. Our Georgie is an Australian. Has a relationship with her boss turned lover, Nico. She was asked to go to Canada from Australia to conduct business, to work in a job in Canada. And whilst there, she finds out why she really was asked to work in this position in Canada. And it's interesting. I enjoyed this. This is what else can I say about it? I've told you the pages. It is Fremantle Press and it's due out in May. I recommend it. It's really interesting. Fiction, of course, but I would have to say that considering Jay Martin has lived in a number of places around the world, including Canada, and I'm fairly sure she's lived in Canada. Let me just have a look. It will tell you, I think she's just recently moved there. Let me have a look. Yes, Jay's career has taken her from Australia to Canada, just like her protagonist. But she has lived in the UK, Vietnam, India, Japan and Poland. And she lives now in Fremantle. I really enjoyed it. And it's interesting. It takes you where you didn't think you would go. It's a really interesting novel. By the way, there is swearing in both of these. I just want to let you know, just in case you are not partial to that, there is a bit of swearing. So do be mindful of that. But both contemporary, by the way, they're both, set today in today's timeline, both of these. Really interesting, and I recommend them. But I will remind you about Geraldine is already on the bookshelves in bookshops. Boomtown Snap is not. It is not released until May. The next one, which is definitely on bookshelves, this is from Echo Publishing. It's An Invisible Tattoo by Sue Ellen Dainty. Now, we know Sue Ellen because she wrote The Housemates. I think it was The Housekeeper. Yes, The Housekeeper. She wrote it in around about 2017, I think, or 2018. This is, as I say, it is on the bookshelves already. This is about, we have two timelines. We have 1972 and current day. We have Ruth and her friend. I think her friend from memory is Adela. I think she's Adela. Let me have a look. Just on the back here, it might tell me. Yes, Adela, yes. So Ruth and Adela are really good friends and they find themselves in England. Adela becomes, she finds herself in a relationship with a fellow by the name of James. He is a musician. James is either murdered, had an accident, or committed suicide. That's in the past. We still don't know what happened. Ruth is now back in Australia in an apartment in Sydney, and journalists are wanting to know what happened, what really did happen to James all of these years later. And Ruth basically chooses a particular journalist by the name of Kate. I think it's Kate Griffin from memory. And as a result of their interaction, they also become friends. The title is based on, or it's implying that a really good friendship is like an invisible tattoo. You have it and you are connected for life. I enjoyed this. It is really well written. Really well written. Now, this is, as I say, Echo Publishing, Australia. So we actually flick between Australia and England between 1972. I'm positive it's 1972. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, 1972. Yeah, I had 1979 in my mind, but it was 1972. We flick between Australia and England, 1972 and current day. A friendship between Ruth and Adela and Ruth and Kate in those different timelines. This is really well written. Now, as I say, I'll give you the amount of pages here is 307, and extremely well written. Now, I think, is Sue Ellen, let me just double check. I'm fairly sure Sue Ellen is Australian, but she now lives in England and has for a little while. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong on that. Oh, here we go. Here we go in the front. Sue Ellen worked as a newspaper journalist in Sydney before moving to London and becoming a TV producer, a ghostwriter, and a non-fiction author. Yeah, and she wrote. Her first novel was titled After Everything. That was in 2014, followed by The Housekeeper in 2017. I was right. She lives in. Oh no, she did live in London and Somerset for 30 years and has now returned to her hometown in Sydney. I really enjoyed this. I think it was really well written. It is a story that I think many of you will enjoy. I recommend it. That's that one. And that is out on the bookshelves in bookshops now. Okay. These next two are books that I have purchased myself or have been given them as a gift. Now, this one I read this week as well. As you can tell, I have been reading quite a bit in the last few days because these came, actually all of them I think, that may have been the week before. I think I read that a week ago. These two I read very urgently this week because I knew that particularly Geraldine was on bookshelves. I thought Boomtown Snap was also, but it's not. It's not due till May, as I said. So I wanted to get them quickly read. So that was in the last few days. These didn't arrive in our post box until midweek. So I did have to do some hurried reading. And enjoyable reading too. Now, this one I also read this week. You may all know J.M. Hall. J.M. Hall wrote a few. This is the very first one that I read of J.M. Hall's. It is not the first in this series. This was A Pen Dipped in Poison. It is a murder mystery. And we have English writer. This is very much this series. This is the one I read this week, A Clock Stopped Dead. This is very much a series that is in line with possibly The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. It's comfy murder mystery, but instead of people in a retirement home, this is 3 retired or semi-retired teachers. It's also along the lines of our Australian author Amanda Hampson's The Tea Ladies, which I thoroughly enjoy. I absolutely love them. I also love Richard Osman's Thursday Murder Club, and I'm really enjoying this series. Now, this is the third, I think, in the series. The first one, this was the second one. The first one, I think, A Spoonful of Murder was the first one in this series, and I haven't read that yet, actually. This was the first one I read. Normally with a series, I do like to start with the first in the series, but for some reason this time round I didn't. I started with the second. So this is the next one, and there is one or two more after this, actually. I don't know if it'll be in here as a suggestion. No, but I do know that there are a couple more that are either being released or have already been released, perhaps not here in Australia, but definitely in England. So A Clock Stopped Dead, this is the 3 teachers, or the 4 teachers back, 3 particular teachers actually, Pat, Liz and Thelma. They have a friend who is a little alternative, or not alternative, but she's a little bit abstract. She's a little bit odd, and she has an experience that then leads almost a ghostly experience, and our Liz, Pat and Thelma then find themselves, in order to unravel this little ghostly mystery, they then find themselves embroiled in a mystery, not necessarily murder, but that does end up with a couple of deaths, but it's not necessarily murder. So really interesting, well written, great plot, very basic, just that comfy, cozy mystery. I'm enjoying this series, I have to say. I didn't think I would as much as I did. And it's comfy cozy. It's not necessarily on my top list of comfy cozies, but it's definitely up there. Again, as I say, it is teachers or retired teachers who find themselves embroiled in all sorts of mystery. Not necessarily always murder, but although people do die, but they find themselves unravelling the mysteries and sometimes the murders. I enjoy these and I do recommend them. So that's one that I read this week as well. Now, another one I read this week. In 2016, this next one was released. I was gifted it actually by Mark in 2016 when it was released. And when I began reading it, I wasn't particularly enamoured with it. And so I stopped reading it. I think I only read perhaps not even the first chapter. Looking back, I now think that I definitely wasn't in the right headspace to read this particular novel. And probably, if I'm honest, if I think back, I don't think I was reading much that particular year anyway. I had a few things on my plate, and I think I'd sort of not. I wasn't in love with reading as much, which is a shock, I know, but because all my life I have been a lover of reading. But I think this particular year in 2016, 2017, I just wasn't in the headspace. However, I read it this week. I began reading it again and couldn't put it down. This is Anthony, you will all probably know it, but this is Anthony Horowitz's Magpie Murders. This is some 500 pages long, as you can see. It's quite a hefty book. And it is by Orion, I think. It's 2016. I think it's by Orion Books in 2016. Now, there is a television series. I haven't seen it. I have seen some previews, and I have also seen interviews conducted with Anthony Horowitz about the TV series, and also interviews conducted with the actors on the series. I would like to watch the series. I think it would be really interesting and different, a little different to the novel. So I won't, if you haven't seen it or you haven't read the book, I don't want to go into the story too much, but I can see already when I've been watching the previews that the television series is definitely different to the book. And I think it may be better. I think it's got a better storyline. Having said that, I absolutely love Magpie Murders. Now, this is a novel written within a novel. And it's a mystery written within a mystery. Let me explain. We begin with Susan, who is an editor, and she tells us that the book that we are about to read, in its before editing it, is a book that changed her life. Now, the book that we are about to read is from one of her authors, and she is to edit it. That book takes up a good half, if not just over half of this whole novel. I absolutely loved that novel. It was brilliant. I loved it. I couldn't put it down. I read within the first few hours. I absolutely just devoured the first half of this book. It was brilliant. The next half is the novel within the novel is a murder mystery. And in fact, it has other mysteries involved. The second half is Susan trying to work out, by the way, our author he then dies. And Susan is to work out, or she wants to work out, there are also pages missing from this first novel. So she wants to find, for the sake of her company, the publishing and editing, she needs to find the last chapter of the novel. She also wants to find out what happened to the author. Did he commit suicide, or was he murdered? It also flicks then back, in some areas it flicks back to our novel within the novel. So, and on top of that, we don't have consecutive page numbers because we have 2 novels in here, and the page numbers relate to the separate novels. So it can be confusing. So the first novel is, say, 300 pages, and then we go back to page number 1 because that's where we're following Susan. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Suffice to say, this is a really good story. Now, I know in the television series that one of the characters from the first novel moves into the second novel. By the way, the first novel is set in 1955, and then with Susan, we're in current day. We're meant to believe that we're in current day. I think it's 2015 or 2015. I think we find Susan in. So not so much current day, but you know what I mean. It's in the 2000s. So it can be quite confusing, but it's not really. The other thing I will say, in the first novel that Susan is meant to be editing, there are errors. So when I first read it, I thought, oh gosh, that's actually a plot error, and that is a grammatical error. But of course, we have to remember that the first novel is the draft that is going for editing. So we must remember that. It's really good. Now, there is a sequel. There is 2, actually. There's a sequel to this, Moonflower Murders, which I have yet to purchase, and I'm going out there to buy when I can get my hands on it. The other one is Marble Hall Murders, which I think has been released this year, and I have a copy of it. I actually bought it yesterday in Echuca. I knew that it was available, so I went and bought it. But Moonflower Murders, I think I will be able to buy in a bookshop in Melbourne. So I'm going to Melbourne this month anyway, and I will go and buy that. I will not read Marble Hall Murders until I've read Moonflower Murders. They are all substantial sized books. They're all around about the 500 pages, but they are so engrossing. They're well written. As I say, I do, from the looks of things, I think and by the way, Anthony Horowitz has written the TV series, or he's co-written it, or he may have written it himself, but nevertheless, so he has changed some of the story for television, which I think actually looks more intriguing and more interesting than even this. But this alone was really good, and I cannot wait to start reading Moonflower Murders. Anthony Horowitz also wrote Foyle's War, if any of you have seen that television series from England. And I think he wrote a few of the episodes, or a number of episodes, in Midsummer Murders. So he really is in that wonderful crime, that cozy crime fiction. I really enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to watch the television series because I think it's even more intriguing and more interesting. But I really did enjoy this. So that is Anthony Horowitz. This is J.M. Hall's A Clock Stopped Dead. This was the first one, A Pen Dipped in Poison. This was the first one I read. It's not the first one in the series, but this one encouraged me to read this one. And when I can, and I find the first in the series, I will do that, and I will probably buy the others. It is in my top crime, cozy crime, but it's not my favourite, but it is in my top favourites. They are really just fun and actually quite witty and interesting. So too is Anthony Horowitz's. There's a little bit of, there are a few funny moments in this as well. So I really enjoy it. Boomtown Snap, by Jane Martin. I recommend it, not due out until May, but I recommend it. It's interesting and intriguing and has a bit of a twist to it. Geraldine, this by Andrea Thompson. This is already out on in the bookshops. It's already available. It is thought-provoking and interesting, and although it is not one that I ordinarily would have picked up, I'm glad Fremantle Press sent it to me, because it has definitely made me think about things, all sorts of things in life, and how we perceive people and how we perceive ourselves. And I think it's really good one to read. And this one, beautifully written by Sue Ellen Dainty, An Invisible Tattoo. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and this is also now available in bookshops. That is it, everyone, for this week. I hope you have enjoyed all of those, and I hope some of those, or if not all of them, have piqued your interest. I thoroughly enjoyed reading all of them. I'm really tired after scooting through those. I did want to get some of those out to you because I knew that obviously some of them are out on the bookshelf. Some of them, one of them particularly, has been out for an awfully long time, and I wanted to give you the lowdown on those. Rooney has decided to move. Thanks, Roon. Although he has not given me any more space on the chair, everyone. He's still taking up the whole lot. Yeah, so that's it. We are still continuing on with Australian book travels, but that is intermittent travel videos and relaxation videos. We're thinking actually that we may change the presentation of those videos, but we'll see how that goes. We're also definitely within the next 6 months, we're just in the process of organising another channel that will show you our renovation works on our property. We have a little cottage on the property, and we're hoping to renovate that and bring you along with us for the journey. We think that may be of interest to you. So we will have another channel, but we will also let you know about that in the future. But I can't foresee that will be up. Maybe it certainly won't be up in the next few months. We are working on it over the next few months, but I don't think the channel will be up and available, and probably for another at least 4 months, if not 6 months. So that's that. And that's it. I think that's all I've got. Of course, we will have our book competitions over the next little while. Oh, and that was another thing. I went through my bookshelves that are all dotted around the house, and I noticed that I had a number of books that either I no longer need, or I have actually purchased 2 copies of. I didn't realise I had done that with a number of books. So I will be giving those away, but we'll make it a bit of a competition, I think. So that'll be in the coming months. And of course, in October, we have our Christmas book competition. So don't forget that. I know it's a little way off, but we're already in April now. So it's not going to be long before it's October. So I thought I would just let you know that, remind you all that those competitions will be coming up, and we'll get prepared. I can't believe we're already in April. It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's just, the year is flying. Anyway, everyone, that is it. I will stop my prattling, and I hope you've all enjoyed this. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it, and definitely subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It is free to do so, and it does help the channel. Until next video, whether it is the book recommendation or whether you flip over to Australian Book Travels and watch the travel or relaxation videos, until the next, whenever that is, have a great week, everyone. Enjoy your reading, and I will be taking you actually to some bookshops this month. I am going into Melbourne, so I'll probably take you on a journey with me to have a look at some bookshops, and maybe some subjects that are mentioned in books, but I'll talk about that a little bit later, I think. We'll see how we go. I may have let the cat out the bag a bit, but we'll see. Okay, enjoy your week, everyone, and enjoy your reading. That's important. Take care, and I'll see you next video. Bye for now.